Hello everyone, this is Jacob. Welcome to Dangerville. I'm sure you've heard about the reports and rumors of more MonsterVerse movies being discussed between Legendary, the studio behind this series of monster movies, and Adam Wingard, the director of the most recent installment in the series, a little movie you may have heard about, Godzilla vs. Kong. As exciting as this is, we're all forgetting about the actual next chapter in the MonsterVerse, a mysterious Netflix series to be released later this year simply called Skull Island. Created by the good people behind the praised Castlevania series, this new monster anime could be one of the best additions to the MonsterVerse yet. Remember to check out our merch if you haven't already. It helps out the channel so we can make you more of your favorite content, and our merch actually looks good. So let's talk about everything we know about Skull Island. Let's get to it. So the story so far is, well, not much. The title being Skull Island is rather self-explanatory. The series will take place on the legendary island of Kong, but one thing is curious with the title. There's no mention of Kong in it at all. Not having Kong, King Kong in a Skull Island feature would be an odd and likely criticized choice amongst the fans. So expect this title of the series to have little to do with, Kong's actual addition in the story as a character. I'm 99% sure Kong's just gonna show up in the series at some point, but he will certainly not look familiar to how we last saw him in Godzilla vs. Kong, and this is why. The story will follow the adventures and turmoils of a shipwrecked crew of sailors, likely the ones from the wrecked ship, the Wanderer, that we saw in Kong Skull Island. In that movie, Hank Marlowe states that the ship was probably there a good 10 years before his plane crash left him stranded on the island. As far as we know, this new series takes place in the 1930s, so it all kinda adds up and appears like we're finally going to get to learn this ship and its crew's sad fate. Clearly none of them survived unless they were able to get off the island, which is highly unlikely. Regardless, what I believe makes the original King Kong story so amazing is how the crew has to deal with all these horrible things on Skull Island. The terrain, the creatures, around every turn something can and probably will kill you. On the surface, it looks like this Skull Island Netflix series will pay tribute to the original story, and I'm a big fan of that. Tell me what you think. A crew of 1930s explorers are going to have to face deadly odds in order to not become dinner. I'm sure Kong's gonna show up at some point, although he will be much smaller than we have seen him so far. And there's a reason to this, and that's because, well, he's just a lot younger. In a recent podcast with Goji Center, Alistar and I talked about Kong's potential maturation and size in the series, and just in case you missed that discussion, I'm going to end this actual video right now with that segment. Maybe you watched the entirety of our big long 30-minute long video the other day, but if you haven't, you probably missed out on this talk because it was near the end, and I think it's worth, if you clicked on this video wanting to learn about this series, you'd probably enjoy listening to us talk, and if you already heard it, well, you can just continue on to one of our other videos. So anyway, all of you good people, thank you all for your time. Make sure to stick around to hear what we have to think about this new Skull Island Netflix series when, something is actually released on it more than the little bit of information that we have so far. But I'd expect to start hearing more about that over the next month or so. So subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff, and I hope you enjoy this extra little segment of our talk with Goji Center about this new series. This has been Jacob. Peace out, everyone. Peace out. But yeah, you know what? I wanted to ask you guys, because we've pretty much already talked about what we want or how it could go. And here's a topic that no one's talking about. I don't know anything about it. I haven't heard anything in months. Okay. What's going on with this King Kong or this Kong Netflix series? What do you think's gonna happen with that? Is this when we're gonna see Kong as finally, maybe not a little baby, but he's gonna actually be not super huge? How do you think that show's gonna go down?
There's no guarantee that Kong's even gonna show up in the show. It's called Skull Island. Maybe he's just not there. Maybe it's just about the people, because obviously the show's about how they washed up at 1933. It's the film crew, I think it is. They washed up in the Wanderer on Skull Island, but there's no guarantee Kong's going to be in it. And if he is in it, he'll probably be very small-ish.
he would be more of a, even smaller teenager because, in 1973, I think he was 104 feet. And, before that, I mean, I'm assuming he's going to be smaller. And if it's an anime, it would make sense for Kong to be a little smaller because, you have anime is kind of like a fast paced format, they kind of just move around real quick, have all these cool effects and everything. So it would make sense to have like a smaller Kong doing all these cool, maneuver, and it'd be realistic. Because a smaller Kong, I'm assuming, is more agile than a big old Kong. I don't know.
Yeah,
Could be.
Yeah, I don't think they said it was like a quote, like anime, like the Japanese.
It's the
style
Castlevania.
anime. I think
it's the
just
Castlevania guys, so it will look similar to that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it will be kind of okay, cool. Well, that's good. All right.
But that's not like anime. That's kind of like westernized animation, but uses kind of like some kind of anime.
It's kind of like mixing both
Ish,
the animation worlds a little bit.
It feels like a very
bit.
high quality 90s cartoon, if you know what I mean.
Which were good cartoons, so that's good. Yeah, I guess they don't have to show Kong. Although, I just watched Skull Island just a few days ago. And in the very beginning when, they're fighting on the ridge side and Kong sticks his hand up and he brings his head up.
In World War II.
Yeah, and they're in the World War II, so this is 30 years before Skull Island. Kong's still pretty huge, but like I actually paid attention to it a little bit more and then looked at it again later on in the movie when Mason Weaver touches his face. And Kong's actually a good bit smaller. Just 10 years beforehand, it looks like a human almost takes up his whole like head. So maybe Kong's only like 30 feet tall or like 40 or 50 feet tall. That's kind of what it looks like. He doesn't look
that's
as
my guess.
huge.
It's like 50-ish feet.
So maybe 10 years prior to that, he's going to be even a little bit smaller. And we'll actually see him like kind of action figure size with a human to where like a human could fit in his, like, I guess almost like the true King Kong, the classic size to where he's 20 to 30 feet. He can hold the girl in his hand and try to take her top off and do all that weird stuff. So
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm curious to know about this series because
Well, like you say, we already knew that the MonsterVerse is going to continue one way or another, whether it was going to be films or graphic novels or TV shows. Like, it's already continuing with this. Like, I think people seem to forget about that. People are saying, "Hooray, the MonsterVerse is continuing," because
a movie
kind of confirmed more films being made. But it's like it was already continuing. It's still being made.
They haven't talked about this Skull Island show at all. Isn't it supposed to come out like next month?
It's something like June, I think they said. Like June, July, but you know what they're like. They would probably advertise it like a month before it comes out.
And we haven't even seen anything.
Not even a trailer or anything. Netflix usually releases trailers like maybe a month and a half before the show comes out.
Maybe the pandemic just slowed it all down.
Probably.
Yeah, you would just think that they would want to take advantage of when everything's like really still kind of fresh in everyone's minds and be like, by the way, we have this cool show coming out on Netflix. We're going to throw this trailer in to let you get hyped up about it. But who knows? I mean, we cover Camp Cretaceous a little bit on the channel, the Jurassic World, Jurassic Park animated series, and they don't really talk about that too much until the new season's about to start. So maybe like what Goji said, like a month before it comes out, they'll actually like spit it out at us. Because for all we know, the series isn't even done yet. The way how these companies are cranking out.
And Pacific Rim as well, didn't
Good
they?
point.
Like they didn't advertise Pacific Rim, but then they were like, "Oh yeah, it's coming out next month. Here's a trailer." I was like, "Huh?"
Yeah,
What?
we get slammed with
Okay.
news, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
Hold up, let me catch up.
Yeah. We just had to stop making videos on it because there was so much coming out at the same
It's a little
time.
crazy.